Tune in every Tuesday morning from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. for Faith Works with Pastor Jimmy Ellison. Pastor Ellison has the privilege of interviewing leaders in Newnan who are making a kingdom impact, modeling for our community that faith does indeed work. So don't miss an episode of Faith Works with Pastor Jimmy Ellison, Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., only on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key.
Hey, I'm Jimmy Ellison. I'm the pastor here at Newnan City Church. I want to thank you. You'll find as you walk through that we focus on three areas primarily. One is worship, small groups, and local missions. And our purpose is transforming lives for Jesus' sake, helping individuals experience that transformation. And we use these three areas, worship, small groups, and local missions, to help individuals experience that. You'll get a sense of who Newnan City Church is, and I hope that you'll come and worship with us soon. Take care, and God bless.
The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast do not necessarily reflect the beliefs of this radio station, its management, or its sponsors. Listeners are urged to use their own discernment to draw their own conclusions.
It's now time for Faith Works with Pastor Jimmy Ellison from Newnan City Church.
Good morning, Newnan, Georgia. I'm Jimmy Ellison, and you're listening to Faith Works, where each week we have conversations with local leaders demonstrating that faith does indeed work. And I'm thrilled this morning to have three guests on the show. Layla Smith, who's actually been a guest in the past, Lily Joseph, and Ann Thompson, who are representing Celebrate Recovery out of Sunrise Baptist Church. And ladies, I'm so glad that y'all are taking the time to be on the show today.
Thanks for the opportunity.
You bet, you bet. I want to start just get a brief how you guys got to Newnan, a little of your story. Let's start with you, Ann.
I was born and raised in Newnan, Georgia. One of the original Newnan.
A native, huh?
Native.
Did you go to
yes.
Newnan High School, Ann?
I did. I graduated from Newnan High School, went to LaGrange College.
Really? I did too.
Really?
Yeah, I did. I'm an LC grad.
And then I got my master's at Auburn.
Okay. Did you like that football game last night? See,
Well, with it being the SEC, I sort of wanted Alabama to win.
I understand that. I understand that completely.
But, higher powers do fall, except for the high power.
Yes, exactly. I almost thought you were going to say that God made them win last night. I was going to say, now, Ann, come on, we'll talk theology later with football and God. But so you're a native of Newnan. You graduate here in Dillon. Did you stay in Newnan your entire career here?
I have lived in Newnan my entire career, other than when I was in Auburn.
Okay.
And I have traveled over the state. I've worked as a parole officer, as a social worker in Department of Family and Children's Services here. I've been a probation officer and licensed professional counselor. I've done some ministry,
Okay.
and that was outside of Newnan.
That's great. So you've really been around this area, though, most of your adult life, or all your life,
Yes.
other than the times you've been out with college and different school.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
great. That is great. And so how about you, Lily? We talked earlier, you're not a native of Coweta.
No, I came to Coweta 2 years ago because of my husband's job, but I am originally from Honduras, Central America.
All right. Que pasa?
Oh, yeah, ¿qué pasa?
That's about it. I know que pasa and como se llama.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, that's all my Spanish. I'm trying to do better though. So you're here. Y'all been here for 2 years.
Yes,
right?
sir.
And
Yes.
So did you guys meet through Celebrate Recovery, or did you meet through the church? How did you guys get connected?
Well, we've been through other CRs in the United States.
CR being Celebrate Recovery.
That's correct, yes, Celebrate Recovery. And when we came to Newnan, we were looking for a Celebrate Recovery, and we just, that's how we got to
connected-
Sunrise
connected
Baptist
there.
Church, yeah.
And of course, Miss Layla, who I appreciate her so much. Layla and I, she works at Bridging the Gap. Our church, Newnan City, is next to Bridging the Gap. I feel like we're almost like sister organizations next to each other and partnering with each other. We appreciate all that Bridging the Gap does. But we have gotten connected also through the Celebrate Recovery and hear more about that. So how long have you been in Noonan now?
I've been in Noonan for, 13 years.
Okay.
I moved to Noonan when my children were starting school. When my oldest was in school a couple of years, I had him in Christian school and couldn't afford Christian school, and that was in Henry County.
Yeah.
And so I moved down here for the school systems.
Okay. And so what we want to talk about today is Celebrate Recovery.
Yes.
And which one of you would like just to give an overview of Celebrate Recovery and what that looks like? Who's that? And everybody's kind of looking towards you, so I'm assuming.
It must be me.
Yes.
Celebrate Recovery is a program that helps people with any hurt, habit, or hang-up.
And let's define that. What is a hurt would be?
It can be depression. It
Okay.
can be spiritual crisis. It can be
Like
divorce.
going through a season where you experience this feeling of I'm hurt, I'm wounded. Okay.
Exactly.
All
And,
right, so-
and that life is not going the way that it needs to go.
Okay. So
And
that's a hurt. And
a
then
habit could be addictions.
Yeah.
It could be, when I say addiction, I mean sexual addictions, overeating, so many
Yeah.
of the things that people deal with, and a lot of times they deal with it by themselves because they don't want other people to know, or they're afraid other people will judge them. And we have no judgment at Celebrate Recovery.
Grace is a beautiful thing.
Yes, it is.
That's wonderful. When I think about addiction, I have this theory that each of us is addicted to something.
Yes.
And most
agree.
of us, my wife and I, we lead a mission in Atlanta for homeless women and children. And oftentimes I will tell them when we're talking that, listen, everybody has addiction. Now, some of us have learned to manage life, manage our addictions, and we've not lost our jobs and not lost our families and not lost our homes. But we don't need to kid ourselves. Each of us has an Achilles heel. Each of us has that whatever it is that will draw us away from the life God wants for us, and that addiction.
And that, I think, can fall under hang-ups as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can expect things out of life that don't really happen,
Yeah.
or expect things from other people. Our expectations of others and of ourselves get us in trouble sometimes. And the way I look at it is that the Lord came that we might have life,
Preach.
and that we might have life more abundantly.
Preach.
And I think that He means for each and every one of us to live an abundant life, to be joyful, to be at peace, knowing that we are fulfilling our purpose here in this life.
And
I
so,
agree with that.
yeah.
I agree.
Which part do you agree with, Leo?
All of it. The part that it's just, He didn't create us. He did not create us to be miserable. He created us, and He wants us to be happy, and He wants us to know He loves us. It's sorry. I feel like my life has been lived more abundantly since I started CR.
Yeah.
It just opened a
When
whole.
did you start, Layla?
Well, I was having to do a self-help group of some sort through Accountability Court.
Okay.
So I had actually gotten into trouble. It wasn't by my choice at first, but then I chose to go. Once I had to go.
The court says, hey, this is part of your
Yes.
moving forward. You must do A, B, C, and D. And one
Yes.
of those was go to some type of support group.
Yes, and it could be any support
It
group.
could have been any of the 12 steps or whatever.
And they had wrote up on the whiteboard dinner and child care. I had 4 kids. Well, one of them was moved out and grown and moved out, but I had 4 kids, and so a night off having to cook was definitely one thing that got me to the door.
Sure. So you started. How long ago was that, Layla?
In October of 14.
Okay. And so you started then, and my understanding, you've been fairly active since then, right?
Oh yes, sir.
Yeah.
I couldn't leave it. It's like they're like my family. It's
Sure.
like we're neighbors. It's kind of Noonan has really went into a circle of every kind of, everything that I've done has just been in a circle. I'm running right into the same people in different things. But so the accountability court kind of got me back on track.
Got you started with that.
Yeah.
So it's hurts, habits, hang-ups, and those are the three big areas that you guys talk about. And so, yeah, I know you meet each week. So tell us a little more, what happens at one of those meetings?
We meet on Thursday nights, and as a matter of fact, tonight, Southcrest is starting a new Celebrate Recovery.
That'll be Tuesday, January the 8th.
Right.
Whenever anyone's listening to this, just want to let everyone know that we're taping this on the 8th of January.
Right, so they start tonight, and we, at 6 o'clock, we have a meal from 6 to 6:30. And it's mainly because people may be coming in from work, and it's easier for them to get there if the food is there and if they have
church
childcare.
Provide that meal, and where does the food come from?
We have had a great outpouring from Sunrise of the small groups within the church.
That's wonderful.
And they have just, once they learned about it, became familiar with Celebrate Recovery, they just started saying, we'll provide a meal. And that's been wonderful. And we want to try to remove every excuse that someone has for not coming. And so we provide child care. Also, this past year, we started an incentive in Celebrate Recovery for, we call it the Landing, and it's for teenagers, for 14 to 17 or to 18, and then at 18 they can go in with the adults. But we've started that, so we're reaching out in the community to foster homes, to churches, to everywhere we can, private foster care, courts, and saying, we've got this service, and we're not the ones that fix people. We can't fix people, but we know the man that can.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I love about Celebrate Recovery is that it is focused on Christ. It is a Christian approach to how do you deal with habits and hang-ups and hurts and that follow. Tell me, Lily, a little about your experience with Celebrate Recovery.
Well, my husband and I came to see our Celebrate Recovery because we are one of those couples that looks from the outside that we have it together. But we most definitely don't have it together. And I came to CR because we were having marital problems with my husband, and the counselor said, it would be good if my husband went to CR. So I decided that I was going to be the police for him to get to Celebrate Recovery. So I used to take him, and
Now, was this in Noonan or elsewhere?
it was in Maryland.
Okay.
That's where we started. But once you're in Celebrate Recovery, you are going to want to be there. It's not something that, you're going there by force, just like Layla explained. So we came to Noonan, and so as soon as we got here, we looked for Celebrate Recovery, and that's where we're at now, Sunrise Baptist Church.
And so how long has that been? How long have you been active there?
2 years.
2 years.
Yes.
And so you came today to talk, to be on the show because I'm assuming you're very involved there. Are you one of the leaders there?
Yes, I am. I lead one of the STEP studies alongside with Layla, and the STEP study takes place on Wednesdays, and we have a curriculum that we follow, and it's just life-changing.
So that's different than what happens on Thursday nights.
Yes, initially that's like the entry level.
Thursday night is.
Thursday nights.
So Thursday's like the big gathering.
The big group.
So people come on Thursday, you have a meal, and then I know isn't there a worship service involved at some level? Okay, so do you go straight into the worship experience after the meal?
At 6:30, and we try to, but, so it's somewhere between 6:30 and 6:45 that we start large group of worship, and that's where we have either a lesson one week and a testimony the next, and we alternate that. And,
How long does that last?
To 7:30, and then at 7:30, we go into what we call our small share groups, and that is gender specific. The men
Sure.
meet with the men, women with women, because there's some things that we wouldn't share
Of course.
in a mixed group. And so we always want to make it a safe place. We want people to feel welcome and loved so that they can open up and share, and so that we can be instruments of God's to help them through what they're
And how
struggling.
many, when you break up in groups, how many groups are there, and how big is a group?
Well, when we first started out, it was rather small,
Sure.
but we've been there, we're in our 7th year now.
Okay?
So we've gone from maybe 3 or 4 to as many as 14, wouldn't you say?
Yes, ma'am.
In a group?
In a
In a
group.
group.
And
Okay.
we've had, in our large group, we've had up to, I think, 70, 75 people
Wow.
at the most.
Wow.
And sometimes it's a revolving door. We see people for a while, and then they don't come back, and then they decide to come back. But I think that's the way we are with our struggles, you know.
That's
And
good.
we know that the Lord's the answer. He's the only one that can fill those empty places within us. But sometimes we're just not quite ready. My brother always puts it this way: they're going back out to work on their story.
Hey, I like that. I like that. They're going back out to work on this story. So you guys do that. Does that wrap up around 8:30?
We try to
8:30?
8:30. Sometimes we try to get the church closed by 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And of course, we provide the child care so that people can, and we want to get them out of there so during the school year they can get their children home and in bed. And
Sure.
but we also started this year with the elementary age children what we call celebration plays. And kids and teenagers, their parents going through things, or they can be going through things at school and don't want to tell their parents, but we want the same thing for all ages, and it's for the entire family, because God made us a family.
Yes.
And there's a reason that we have parents, and there's a reason that we stay in that unity, and that's a reason we're there as a church. We are a family
Yes.
that supports one another and loves one another, and, you know, we don't judge one another because we know that we've all been in those places.
That's so
And we just take off the mask and let people know, hey, I've hurt, you know,
Yeah.
I've been mad at God, and He's big enough to handle that.
Sure. When I've attended CR classes, I've attended other churches. I've not attended you guys, but one of the things that I've noticed, I love the transparency. I love the vulnerability, and there's just something beautiful about someone standing in front and saying, "I do not have it all together." And that just kind of just breaks all the walls. And I'm you know, I'm a preacher, so I'm picking on preachers and Sunday morning worship experience. How often on Sunday morning, I'm in front, I've got everything together in my life, my marriage is perfect, you know, I've got this going for me, I've got, you know, it's this, there's this facade that we put, so often many of us, me, I'm talking about me, that we put up front where we're not transparent. And that's one of the beautiful things I love about Celebrate Recovery, is it really emphasizes, you begin with this sense of I am broken and I'm seeking healing.
Yes.
And that's just a beautiful thing. So Lily, I want to hear more about it. So you come back on Wednesday nights? Am I hearing that right?
Yes,
And is that at the church also?
yes.
And tell me about that. I'm not familiar at all with that.
Well, the STEP study follows the CR curriculum. We have 4 books.
Is it for leaders?
No, I am one of the leaders, and we have attendees
Sure.
that want to follow the program.
Okay.
And they have decided that they want to work on their, habits, hang-ups, and we have people that have anything from, like myself, I have depression, I struggle with eating disorders, abuse, any of that sort. And so we follow that curriculum, and that is from 6 to 7:30.
Now, does it have a meal also?
No,
And what is different about that experience on Wednesday night and then the small group experience on Thursday night? What's the difference?
The main reason is that when you come to the step study on Wednesdays, you are working on issues specific to yourself.
Okay.
And you have decided that you want to work on those things, have admitted that you have them, and now you're saying, I am going to seek help, and with the help of, our higher power, Jesus Christ, we are going to be able to conquer.
It's basically going through the 12-step program. We just acknowledge Christ as our higher power. Most people are familiar with the 12-step program.
Sure. And it's and so that the 12-step program model is not modeled on Thursday nights. It's more just
It is. It's the lesson that we have every other week, and then the testimony is every other week.
Right, but then the small group, when you meet in a small group after the testimony and after the worship.
That is more of let's share what the testimony or what the lesson today
it's more
has with our life personally.
Yeah,
it's just a way to not hold everything inside. You might have had a really bad day, then you might not even talk about the lesson at all or the testimony at all. You might just be like, look, this is how my day has went. You get 3 to 5 minutes for the most part.
Each person
to talk,
share. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's more of a debrief, just kind of what you're hearing from the Lord at that moment, just a debrief.
And Jim, basically, CR is built on the 12-step principle and the 8 principles that we get from the Beatitudes.
Yeah, I've seen that curriculum. I love that. For those who don't know, CR came out of Saddleback. What is his? I cannot believe I'm drawing a blank now. The purpose-driven.
Purpose-driven life.
Purpose-driven life curriculum. And so, cannot believe I forgot purpose-driven. I love rewards. I forgot that. Yeah. But yeah, I love how he took that curriculum and he used the Beatitudes, those 8 principles there.
And those 12 steps are absolutely backed up by Scripture. And what happened is that Christians took those 12 steps because they are truth, and anything that is truth is of God. And they just proved it by taking the scriptures that go with those 12 steps. And so we're totally based on Bible, and a lot of times I say I learned in my nursery rhymes, and I share it with them, and they look at me like I'm crazy when I'm sharing nursery rhymes with adults. But, Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put him back together again. And I add a little bit to that nursery rhyme, but the king can.
That's good.
And that's what we're there for. We're there for support. We're there to celebrate what God has done in our lives. And I stand in awe all the time of what God does for me and for other people. It's amazing to watch him work and to see that, someone is struggling and we can look at them with confidence and say, you're okay. You're going to be okay. You'll get through this because we've been there and we know who takes us through it.
Such a word of encouragement for people when they are facing what they think is hopelessness and be able to have someone speak life rather than just hearing death all the time. Somebody can speak life into their lives.
Can I share a little bit?
Of course.
When I started Celebrate Recovery through the accountability courts, I felt so broken that when I went in and we done the worship, the music, the songs, I had been out of church. My guilt and shame had taken me away from going to church on Sundays, which my grandmother took me to church on Sundays as a child, so I knew right from wrong, and I had done a lot of wrong. I was on the wrong road for a while, and so when I went in to Celebrate Recovery, of course I've gotten in trouble with the law, and it's just a whole lot is just all falling apart right now, and I go in there and they welcome me and they help me to regain my confidence and give me that hope, gives that hope back, you know. And like I said, I was in tears. The songs would just make me in tears. And between Bill and Ann, who Bill's the men's ministry leader, them two, I mean, it was like family. It's just like they can put their arms around me and held me until I was well again, almost. You know, like if you was sick and your mother, you know, would pay back to health. I was at a very lost, very confused. I had kept it together, a show, you know, like when people look at your life from the outside, like you said earlier, they see so much, you know, and I put on a good profile, you know, but inside I was bad. But that's all changed, and CR has helped me, my relationship with God, clear all the mess that I created. And the fact that I didn't have to do it alone, because God helped me through it, helped me, is amazing. It's just amazing.
Thank you for sharing that, Layla. We're coming up on a hard break, and when we get back, what I want to do, I want to hear how CR has impacted your lives individually, and how you have found healing and hope in the midst of going through the program through Celebrate Recovery. And I know that it's confidential, but if you could share some stories of individuals, of course not using their name, but just some stories of truly life change where someone has come to CR and seen a shift, a change in their lives when we get back. Friends, you're listening to Faith Works. We'll be right back.
Wildwood Trader at 15 Greenville Street in Newnan is your home for hand-built antique furniture, cabinets, and more. Fun decorating items. And of course at Wildwood Trader, direct from the factory items and furniture. So you get 20% below the factory and store prices. Call 770-683-4304. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sundays, 12 noon to 5 p.m. Wildwood Trader, your home decorating specialist in Newnan.
Join us here, live from Newnan, Georgia, as we present the Health, Happiness, and Harmony Hour, every Wednesday from 10 to 11. I'm your host, Dr. Lewis Boynton. Please join us each week as we have new guests and talk about topics related to the psychological world. We're hoping that you will find interesting and helpful topics that will help you have more health, happiness, and harmony in your life. Join us every Wednesday from 10 to 11 at 99.1 WQEE Rock and Roll Radio.
Tune in the second and fourth Thursday each month for Know Your Rights. I'm your host, Charles Cobble, and we'll discuss your rights and have plenty of information on what those rights are. Every second and fourth Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on WQEE 99.1 FM.
Tune in every Tuesday morning from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. for Faith Works with Pastor Jimmy Ellison. Pastor Ellison has the privilege of interviewing leaders in Newnan who are making a kingdom impact, modeling for our community that faith does indeed work. So don't miss an episode of Faith Works with Pastor Jimmy Ellison, Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., only on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key.
Hey, I'm Jimmy Ellison. I'm the pastor here at Newnan City Church. I want to thank you. You'll find as you walk through that we focus on three areas primarily. One is worship, small groups, and local missions. And our purpose is transforming lives for Jesus' sake, helping individuals experience that transformation. And we use these three areas, worship, small groups, and local missions, to help individuals experience that. You'll get a sense of who Newnan City Church is, and I hope that you'll come and worship with us soon. Take care, and God bless.
Welcome back to Faith Works. I'm Jimmy Ellison, and we are talking to Layla Smith, Lily Joseph, Ann Thompson, and they are part of Celebrate Recovery out of Sunrise Baptist here in Newnan. And ladies, when we left, when we took the break, we were talking about life change, and Layla, you had shared your story of how the Lord used Celebrate Recovery to really bring a transformation in your life, and I love how now, and I know transformation is a process. It's not a one and done. It's a journey that we're all on, and how now you're giving back to Celebrate Recovery. I mean, you're there. You are a representative of Celebrate Recovery in our community, and Ann and Lily, you guys certainly are giving back. Did something happen at Celebrate Recovery? Was there a transformation in your own lives that said, I have experienced Christ in a new, powerful way. I want to give back. Was there a transformation in your own lives?
Yes, most definitely. I was Catholic, and then I became a Muslim, and then I was, I became a follower of Christ, but I consider now really walking with the Lord. And my pride did not allow me to see that I was just policing other people.
Yes.
And when I came to Celebrate Recovery humbled me and allowed me to see that I am not here to point fingers. I am here to be changed. And I don't have to do that alone. And there is a lot of comfort, and we are in the fellowship that the Lord has provided for us.
Yes. How about you, Ann? What is any transformation you've experienced through Celebrate Recovery?
Well, Jim, I grew up in a Christian home. We were at church every time the doors opened. Was involved in all the church activities, and became a social worker, a licensed professional counselor, but at age 17, in church, doing everything that I thought the Lord wanted me to do, I was raped. And I kept that to myself for 40 years.
Wow.
And if there's anyone out there listening, it's not your fault, and you need somebody to love you. And I kept that secret, and I kept that face up. The very next morning, I was back in church and doing everything I was doing, ate dinner with the family, never told anyone. Celebrate Recovery, even as a licensed professional counselor, I knew, you need help with this. And it affected so much of my life. But I never told that story. And Celebrate Recovery gave me the courage to do that.
Wow.
And, who we are is not our past.
Amen.
Who we are is our identity and the purpose that God made us for. That's
Hallelujah.
Who we are.
Hallelujah.
I am not a victim. I am a victor. And I remember when I told my sister, and she's a wonderful person that I try to live up to, but she said, she began to, tears coming down her cheeks, and she said, why haven't you told us? Why haven't you let us help you? And I guess that would be the story that I would like to go out from Celebrate Recovery today, is tell us your pain and let us help you. Let us love you in the Lord until you can love yourself again. And my identity is in Jesus Christ. That's why when you come to Celebrate Recovery, you'll hear us say, I'm Ann Thompson, I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ, and he has helped me with dealing with a dysfunctional family and sexual abuse. I'm not identified by those things. I am identified by being a child of God.
Yeah. Lily?
And just to tag on what Ann said, I was sexually molested also. Also it's almost the same thing, since I was a child. And then when I went to a Muslim country, I was persecuted, and I was emotionally and physically assaulted, basically, on a regular basis. And that had left my spirit just broken. I felt that I was not worth it. And I'm here to tell you that Jesus is here for you, and he has his arms open to receive you and to make you whole.
Thank you for sharing, both of you, for being transparent with that. It's I think it's hard for those of us who've not been violated like that to walk in your shoes, to say, oh, I know what you know, I don't pretend to know. What I do know is that the healing power of Christ, I know that power, and I know how that power that has healed me from some of my hang-ups, some of my hurts, and some of my habits. I know that same power has given you just hope as well and healing with
And,
that.
you know, at 17, Jim, I had a crisis of faith.
I can only imagine.
And
I can only imagine. Was this a person you knew?
it was.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, he was in our youth group.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
but it was, you know, God's big enough for us to be mad at him. He can handle that. And I stayed mad at him. I pouted for a good while because I thought, this shouldn't have happened to me because I was serving you.
Right.
And what he brought me to understand is that we live in a broken world.
That's exactly right. It's not God's will.
It's
to
not
be
God's will.
violated.
He didn't cause that to
No,
happen.
no.
He didn't want that to happen, but he was there to heal me when
Yes.
I got
Yeah,
to the point that
Yeah.
I could let him.
yeah.
And a lot of people blame God for things, but it's the broken world we live in. And that's why it's so important.
Y'all talk a lot about that in CR, about because I deal, as a pastor, I deal with that as well, with people who come to me, and it's this mindset that anything that happens, well, clearly it's God's will if it happens. No, we live in a broken world. We live in a sin-filled world, and people are living outside of God's will every day with their lives. When you live outside of God's will, people get hurt. And sometimes people find themselves being hurt by others because of their sin, other sin. And so I'm grateful to hear that come out of the theology of CR, because you can mess up a child if a 17-year-old believes that God wanted her to be raped. That will mess a child up with her understanding of the Almighty.
And also we have choices. You know, we make choices, and we cannot blame God for those choices. I chose to say no to Jesus. In fact, I said, get out of my life.
Yeah, it's called
I don't need you.
Free will. Yeah.
And so after that, you know, he got out, but he never left me. And so I became a Muslim, and I had a dream for 7 years that I was fighting the devil with a cross.
Wow.
And
Is this a recurring dream?
a recurring dream, and I was fighting the devil with a cross, and I couldn't understand why would I be fighting with a cross, because I was not a Christian. And so, you know, and I was in a Muslim country, and I had already changed my mindset. You know, the Lord in the Bible says, as a man thinketh, so is he. And so I had this recurring nightmare, me, you know, fighting the devil with a cross, even if I just put my fingers together and make like a cross, and the devil trying to take it apart from me. It was, you know, it was a nightmare, and I didn't know why, but it was Jesus calling out for me.
What? I mean, that's powerful stuff there, Lily. And I want to hear, you guys work with this group every week, and I know you've been a part of CR for, you said since 13, 14. And so, what about I want to hear some life change stories. I know that you deal with folks whose lives have truly been turned around because of CR. And I know confidentially, I'm not asking you to reveal any names, but can you share some stories of individuals who have received some hope in the midst of despair? You've got a story, Layla?
I can share my story, and you can hear other people's story when you come to CR at Sunrise. I was making choices that were wrong. I wasn't mistreated.
You got kids, you're a mama this season. Were you married at the time?
No, I've never been married. But yes, I was in a new relationship, and I didn't want my new relationship to be affected. I didn't have a job at the time, and I didn't want him to feel like he had to take care of my kids because it was brand new, and what's the quickest way to run off of me is to have to take care of 3 kids. But well, I had 4, but one's grown, and he's in the Army. He's doing good. But the other 3, I wanted to support, and I had help. I had a great family, and they were there to help me. Anything I asked for, I just didn't want to ask for very much.
Yeah.
I wanted to be independent as I had been before, and I wanted, to provide for my kids. I was on the food stamp program, and I messed up by my choices. Had messed up that program. I didn't receive the food stamps anymore, and then it was a matter of, let me just tell you what choices I made. I gained a shoplifting addiction. It started out with food. I provided for my kids food, and then, I kind of got in the habit of it a little bit. And
like go like a Kroger or Walmart? A big box store?
That was the start of it.
Wow.
It, for about 2 years, and it grew and overpowered me. A lot of people have shopping addictions where they're not necessarily shoplifting, but just impulse shopping. Shopping when they're sad instead of eating sweets or something, they go shopping. So it was kind of like that. But the shoplifting part was it added the more really wrong for that, and that's what I got in trouble for. But it was like school started. They needed jeans, they needed shoes, they needed book bags, they needed it just got to where Christmas was right around the corner. It just happened so fast. It just happened so fast, and before I knew it was a full-blown addiction. The worst I've had, but I also had a dependency on meth, and for years. I started back when I was a teenager, and I used it as like partying for a couple of years, but then it was just something I needed every day, kind of like coffee in the morning. It was just, and I didn't do it a whole lot. I managed it, so it was like I really didn't have a problem. I quit when I was pregnant, so I didn't really feel like I had an uncontrollable problem. I just did this, and it was a secret, nobody really knew. And then when I got in trouble for shoplifting, it was a secret for a couple of times. The first time I was just on misdemeanor probation, and I completed that. And the second time I got on misdemeanor probation, and before I completed that, I got a 3rd charge, and it influenced I didn't get to bond out of jail, so I ended up having to stay in jail until they took me to court, and that's when my family realized that I had a problem. And I still would kind of hold that as not being, a real problem. I never admitted, for a long time, until after CR, and a long time into CR, that I had that much, the problem had gained this limit on it. And when I went into CR, like I said, it was court appointed to go to a self-help group, and I'd been in church. My grandmother took me to church before, and I love Jesus. I'm a very thankful Christian, but I didn't have a relationship with him. Yeah. Even though I thought, I thank you for the kids that I have are beautiful, smart, intelligent. The sun's shining today. Thank you. Everything. I have a car. I have a house. Thank you for everything all the time. But that's about it. I didn't speak with him in prayer. I didn't ask anything of him. I didn't do anything to show him that I cared for him either. And so when I started CR, I was very broken. I was very ashamed. And just going in and them not physically putting their arms around me, but it felt like a big group hug. It really did. I felt loved, and I could tell that things were about to change, because when I shared my story, it was like a whole bunch of weight off my shoulders, because I was not carrying this story by myself. They were helping me. They were carrying it for me, so I wasn't alone anymore. It wasn't a secret anymore. And so that gave me the opportunity to reach out for help. And when I found out how much, through the steps and through the lessons that we go through and through the testimonies of other people that have in some way or another, form or fashion, have experienced what I've experienced. I wasn't abused. I had a great family, like I said, but the pain is still the same. The shame that you feel is still the same, and the all by yourself, this is only me kind of feeling is still the same. I don't know, it's just like you're not alone anymore. It's just, I can't explain it right now. My words are not coming out right, but it's an overwhelming feeling. And then the more that you learn in the lessons, and how much Christ loves you, and how he didn't create you to be miserable. He didn't create you to be hurt. He wanted you to enjoy the sunshine, and he wanted your life to be just like that, which is why he come down to save us from our sin. Because that's not what he wanted. And my life just went from this big secret being really bad, and trying to keep it under control and undercover, to open in the middle. I'm in the community, like everybody, a lot of people know me, and at one point in time I knew all the officers and sheriffs and stuff from being in the county jail on this side of the wall. Now, I know them on this side, and it's like we have a relationship, and which I carried myself well while I was in there. You keep your character where you go, but when you get the love of Christ in you, your character has a hard time continuing if it's not right. And you want to live for God. You want to be there for somebody else, so that they can experience what you've experienced. And the change is just, it is overwhelming, the difference.
Was it an immediate change for you, Layla? Was it one of those things where you go to CR and all of a sudden you say, you know what, I've got the strength now to stop? Or was it this process?
It was a process.
Okay.
It was a process. It was a desire that I needed. I wanted change. I wanted to be at the top of my game. I wanted to be doing right in all eyes. I wanted that happiness that you think you should have. I wanted to let go of the broken secret dark stuff. And that was a process. I was in denial for weeks. That I was at as low as I went. As far down as I went. But every Thursday, I looked forward to more and more and more. And then it was like the church is inviting you to church on Sunday, and a lot of the people at CR, the leaders and stuff that show you love and help you through this process, go to the church on Sunday. So it was just a matter of time before we were painting. I think I went the first time was to help them paint the gym, because we got a new gym floor and everything, and everybody was there painting, and I can do stuff like that. I'm very hands-on like that, so I went first to help them paint, and then I think we cleaned the yard up, outside. And so first I just started participating in those kind of things, and then I went to the church on Sunday, and then I think I went to church on Sunday every Sunday for a long time. This year
At the same time going on Thursday night.
Yeah, it was like going to CR almost on Sunday, because there were so many familiar faces, and it was so welcoming. And the shame and guilt had gotten me out of going to church on Sundays, and I wanted to take my kids, because my grandmother took me, and I wanted to take my kids. I knew they needed it, and so it was just right on time, for them to get back, them to get involved in church before they were too old to get it.
How old are your children now?
My oldest is 22, and then 18. I have a daughter that's 15, and a son that's 8. So 3 boys and a girl.
Wow. the CR, you guys, your CR on Thursday night. What is there anything coming up next for you guys? Have y'all started the new curriculum or the new year yet? Does it start this week
We
or last week?
actually we have socials in between where
Okay.
we learn to fellowship with one another and
Okay.
have fun.
Yep.
You know, because
Sure.
we need to fill our leisure time with positive things. So we always throw in socials, and we are adults that play, and you know it's fun. We think, okay, I'm an adult, I'm too old to be doing this, but we get in there and start doing it, and it's fun. And
Is this a social event on campus?
yes,
Okay.
and you know we've had some relay games, and there have been some carpet burns from where you know.
I want y'all I'm too old to be doing that stuff.
It's mainly like through the holidays and stuff, around the holidays that we do a social.
Well, we're wrapping up our time this morning, but I want to hear what is the word of encouragement. First of all, you guys meet on Thursdays at 6 o'clock at Sunrise Baptist, and you can just show up. If you're listening to the show today, you can just show up if you want to learn and see firsthand what CR is all about. Secondly, give us a word of encouragement. I want to hear somebody's listening today and they're thinking, I ought to go, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I want to be that vulnerable. Give us a word of encouragement this last 30 seconds.
This is my favorite part because I feel like if you are feeling any kind of pain at all, it doesn't even have to have a name. You don't even know what it is yet. You're just feeling some kind of pain. Then come to CR and just experience togetherness, fellowship, like relationship. It will save you. God's relationship with you will save you. So just come and just be a part of what we do. And if you don't need help, come help someone else because it's all in a circle of life.
You add anything to that, Ann or Lily?
Well, I would like to say that when you come to CR, you're not going to be looked down upon because we are all in the same boat. So feel free to come on.
That's good. Ann?
And, you know, sometimes we have people that come to the parking lot and they sit out there. Come on in, because it's like, I usually say, because we're there every Thursday night, no matter what, if it's Christmas, if it's 4th of July, whatever it is, we're there. And I like to sometimes say we're like Motel 6, we'll leave the light on for you. And so we've got the light of Jesus Christ burning. So the light's on for you. Just come on in.
Ladies, it has been such a joy to have y'all on the show today, and I hope that you'll come back when something new is happening with Celebrate Recovery. We want to keep the community informed with that, but thank you all for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
And friends, thank you for listening in to Faith Works this week. We'll be here next week. Take care, and God bless.
Thanks for tuning in to Faith Works with Pastor Jimmy Ellison from Noonan City Church. Tune back in here next week for another edition of Faith Works.